All right, and we're back for another episode of the Sports Department Podcast with Justin Valentovic, Stephen Bologna, and Joe Paolantonio. And we're finally here starting our AL West preview, predictions, and breakdown for the 2021 season. MLB free agency, the offseason, spring training, all that stuff is underway. We're just about a little under 3 weeks away, give or take, from opening day. So we're going to get into this division, which quite frankly, we were talking about a little bit before we started this podcast. Took a hit. A lot of talent leaving, going elsewhere, leaving just a few teams kind of standing. So we're going to get into that, but guys, what's going on?
How we doing, boys? It's been a while. We're really getting into the good stuff. Both the Centrals a little lacking, but now our division previews are going to get much more interesting, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, we are 16 days away from opening day, a little over 2 weeks. So this is where teams going to start kind of getting into the groove of things. Spring training has been awesome so far. Luckily, no big injuries have happened for big teams. So just excited. Just excited for baseball at its back.
Is there a first game? You know how they do like those little first, like that one night game?
Like the primetime game type of thing?
Yeah, they do like one primetime game. Usually like the World Series champion, maybe. I don't even know.
Well, I know opening day has like ESPN has a whole slate of games.
It's the 4 games, yeah.
Yeah, that's primarily those will be the main ones. You know, other than the normal team starting at 1:00, there will be, I think, a few other games in the later window. But let's get into the AL West, and there's a reason why we're doing the division third. When you have the Rangers, the Angels, the Mariners, the Astros, not bad, and the Athletics. So let's start with the worst team in the division and who's been near the bottom for quite some time now. That's the Texas Rangers. They finished 22-38 last year in just a 60-game season. Main departures, they let Corey Kluber walk. He literally did nothing for them last year, and they didn't reinforce anything. They traded for Chris Davis, sending Elvis Andrus to the Athletics. So they don't have a shortstop, but they just had Joey Gallo, and that's basically it.
I think the best part about this offseason is that they're going to have fans in the stands. That's pretty much it. And that's a good thing, however you want to look at it. But
too many of them.
They're gonna have all of them. Which, if there was a team, like I'm gonna be honest, if there was a team that nobody wants to see, this has gotta be toward the bottom.
The Pirates, the Tigers, the Orioles, the Marlins.
They lost
Rangers, basically.
Lance Lynn, Mike Minor, and Corey Kluber.
Yeah, basically
looking like a fun little trio at the top of the rotation, leaving just nothing. They picked up Fulte from the Braves.
Is he their de facto ace?
He's not the Kyle Gibson is the ace. However you want to make it that.
And then they got Dane Dunning back from like the White Sox, but he's like a year or so out.
Yeah.
Then they lost the Todd father also.
A lot of reclamation projects.
Odor is still rotting away there with that contract.
Yeah, I mean, offensively, I like that they got Chris Davis. You know, he'll hit 247.
They can take the other one back too.
No one wants that to happen. There's just this looks like a team that's not trying right now, and they are okay tanking it away. I believe they have Dunning, they have Nick Solak, they have guys who might play and be up and comers, but this is.
And, like, you got to assume, like, maybe this year they move Gallo. Maybe they move Danny Santana just because they kind of need to, because what's the point in having them at that point? They're not going to accomplish much. They're going to be the worst team in the division again.
They were bad last year. The Dodgers hit more home runs in their stadium than they did last year during the playoff run, which is absolutely insane. And
they played about half the games there, too.
Exactly. You think of offensive. You think of the Rangers, you think offense, but they're not good.
Yeah, no. And I mean, they traded their only consistent player with Andrews. I mean, Gallo's good, but Andrews he was a staple there for a while, and he's out the door.
No one's going to get on for Gallo to drive in. That's the thing.
The guy's a home run machine. Got more home runs than singles. I mean, that's fun. That's cool. But this is a team that's going to be living on the bottom the whole season long.
I like to see Joey Gallo find his way in a trade.
Anywhere else, literally anywhere else is fine.
I think he could be really fun for a contender. And
Maybe.
outside of him, this is a bad team. The only question is it going to be the Rangers, the Orioles, or the Tigers at the bottom of the American League? I think when you're talking Rangers, that's
I think they're going to be the worst this year in the AL entirely.
That's safe. That's a very safe.
Because at least like the Orioles are still on the upswing of a rebuild. The Tigers,
they have prospects. They have good prospects.
They have prospects that at least you can feel okay watching. The Rangers have nothing. They tried to compete after Belichick retired, and even then they should have just fully blown it up, but they didn't. So with that, I think they're going to finish with 65 wins.
I'll give them 70. That's generous, but it's only because I think that they can squeak by. I think they're playing the National League West. And of course, there's a couple other weaker teams in their own division. So they're going to have the opportunity to beat on some other bad teams.
Currently plus 4,000 to win the division. Dead last, obviously. They're over under 66.5 wins. I'm going to go over 67 is my guess.
Okay. So we're all right around that same range, no more than 70 games, give or take. So let's go to the fourth place team, which quite frankly, it was surprising that they finished fourth with, Anthony Rendon coming to town and their feeble attempt at reinforcing a pitching staff, which same story as this year where they didn't reinforce the pitching staff, which they've needed. And they still don't have a bullpen. That's the Los Angeles Angels because Mike Trout still won't get any help whatsoever. Don't really know what they did this year. I think they just brought in Julio Teheran, maybe, I think.
And Rice Iglesias as their they brought in two Iglesias.
Jose Iglesias also, but they let Simmons go. So you're getting the same offensive production minus a little bit more defensively with Simmons leaving, but that's here nor there.
And Angels phenom Shohei Ohtani is on the mound again, which is a lot of fun after he got shut down with Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, but if they can get Bundy to sort of do what he did last year and not be a complete train wreck and be a little more than an average starter, Ohtani and Bundy can win the division maybe if all things work.
They are substantially better than the Rangers.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the Mariners.
Like talent-wise, they have the second most talented roster on paper.
They have like the three of the most purely talented players in the division. I mean, they have Rendon and Trout, and then they have a modern day Babe Ruth and Ohtani. So, there's reasons to watch the team. David Fletcher is a nice bat. Doesn't get a lot of attention. And Jose Iglesias, Justin, you'll sell it.
Yeah, he was good. He was a nice hitter last year.
He did really well.
Solid.
Didn't really play too much defense because he pulled his quad early in the year and he DH'd a lot of it, but he showed some power. Granted, anyone can show power in Camden Yards, but he's still a good hitter who will get on base. And, Joe, that's all that matters.
And
so,
one thing you gotta watch out. This is the Albert Pujols retirement tour.
Yeah.
Probably. So that's gonna be something to watch. I don't know if he announced that it's officially his retirement and if they're gonna do the whole gifts thing or that was only reserved for.
I don't know. That was just like his step cousin that tweeted out that he was retiring.
I forgot what trade it was, but the Angels made a trade with the Cardinals where they could name a player to be named later, and they still haven't. So could you imagine that they send him back to St. Louis as the player to be named later? That'd be cool in his last year.
That'd be cool.
They got Dexter Fowler is actually on this roster.
I think that's actually the trade that they got the player to be named later for, because that's the only one I can think of. But that's more outfield help. I don't get why Joe. I mean, they did bring up Joe Adell last year, so he needs to pan out for them just because they need the help.
You picked him up in fantasy. I remember you had high hopes with that pickup, and it did not.
It did not work out.
Yeah. Listen, I think this team
every
could honestly
that I do in fantasy, wherever they whenever Rosenthal or whoever tweets out that a rookie's getting called up, I snatch him up. Bologna gets very flustered with that sometimes.
Dude, funny story. It's 6:01. Someone tweets out this guy's getting called up. 6:02. This guy's on Justin's roster. I couldn't have been more furious. But listen, I think this Angel team, if it all goes well, I think they could be a sleeper here to win the division. I really do. They need an MVP Trout season where he plays over 150 games. They need Rendon to go off. I don't know if Ohtani's going to be pitching this year. I know he did have Tommy John, so I don't know what that timetable looks like. You have Joe Madden there leading the helm. I mean, the pieces are there, and if Joe Adell works out, I think this could be something in the works here. Considering how bad the Astros were last year and how they lost George Springer, we all know the Athletics got worse. So if all goes well, I think they have a chance.
They have a chance to be a wild card team, and a lot of that depends on Mike Trout. We're looking at since 2017, each year he's missed significant time. At the end of the day, you have to sort of question that injury history.
Some of those injuries were freak. Like one of them, he did get hit with a fastball, which he couldn't get out of the way for.
I
agree. Like that's the same question we're having with Stanton and Judge. They're just not healthy.
That would it definitely concerns me because the thing is that Stanton and Judge have each other and they have other great players to balance it out. You need Trout in the lineup every single day, and it's very clear that he has trouble staying healthy.
Yeah. So with that, what is your prediction for the Angels this year? Joe, you first.
I'm gonna have them tie for second place. I'm gonna give them 84 wins. Tie for second place. I'm not going to put them in the wild card game. I'm going to put them in the wild card game hunt.
Going high.
Okay,
88.
Jesse.
88. Their over-under is currently 83.5. So me and Joe and I are right around that range.
It's a tough
Justin.
team.
Sorry, I was just trying to process. What did you say? I just zoned out for a second.
83.5 is the over-under, and they're third best odds to win the division at plus 375. So they're getting a little slept on. But
how many wins did you say?
I said 88.
88. That's what I was thinking. That too. Not gonna lie.
Okay.
So I think I don't think they crack 90, but I think 88 puts them in the hunt where we could see them actually make a few moves at the deadline to actually go for it for once.
Absolutely.
Which would be nice to see.
I agree. I mean, eventually they have to get some semblance of a starting pitcher on this roster. I think they can, but there's no excuse for them to miss out on Jake Odorizzi, who's a guy that I think we're going to mention later in the pod.
Yeah, so the middle of the pack team who finished third was surprisingly the Seattle Mariners, who've been in the bottom tier of this division, the bottom tier of the MLB for a few years now.
Third last year.
Yeah, they finished third in the division.
Crazy.
Only by a game. But they were led by Rookie of the Year Kyle Lewis, and outside of that, they don't really have too much around them, so it's a miracle that they made it this far. But they called up Evan White last year. They didn't really make too many moves this offseason. So do you think they can repeat on the bat of Kyle Lewis?
They're not
the big maple back.
They're not that bad. Again, they're another team that's better than the Rangers. Take it for what it's worth. But I'm not going to say Kyle Lewis is alone. Mitch Haniger's back. Very talented. Very big bat.
Did he rupture like a testicle or something?
He did.
Yeah, he busted a nut.
They got a lot of young guys in there. Ty France came over in the Austin Nola trade, as well as Taylor Trammell. They
beefed up that.
I'm not going to say they fleeced the Padres, but they got a good haul. They definitely got a good haul, and these are all guys that Jared Kelenic from the Mets is coming.
I think we see him this year, especially after the whole debacle with how they literally the GM
got to make amends with him first.
Yeah, they can make amends by giving him a contract and bring him up.
Yeah.
They're definitely multiple years out at this point, but they showed flashes of at least the pain and suffering. What was that?
Paxton's back.
The big maple.
But King Felix is gone. Again,
listen, Joe.
I'll call that an upgrade.
I'm a big Marco Gonzalez fan. He's good.
Does he only throw like 90 though?
He's a solid arm. He throws innings. The guy's an ace. The guy. I mean, he's their ace, but he's one of those rare guys that is going to give you 180, 200 innings in 2021. Starting pitchers don't do that very much anymore.
Especially after last year too. You got to wonder if we won't even see someone crack 200 this year. But there'll probably be some nutcase, probably Max Scherzer, who does that. So for the Mariners, I think they do well this year, but I don't think they're near the top of the division. I think they finish around 75 to 80 wins.
I was thinking that too, like 77, fourth place. But I think I think they'll be good. I think they're going to. You talk to us 1 year from now. I think we're going to be excited about the Mariners.
Because right now they're not built for a 162 game season.
No, they're not a contender by any means, but they have talent. They at least have to, which the Rangers don't.
This is an outfield that in 2 years could be Lewis, Trammell, and Kellenic.
And Julio Rodriguez also.
Exactly. So there could be some firepower here. Not this year, obviously. They're over-under on wins is 72.5, plus 2,600 to win the division. I'm going to go 75. 75. I think they have some. They have talent. I will say that could kind of propel them to be solid.
Yeah, they just need some. If they get like some pitching, which they're not going to go full veteran, which they did bring in Paxton. So if he stays healthy, at least he could win him a few extra ball games. But the pitching is definitely going to be the big problem moving forward. So let's talk about a team with basically no pitching now, because Verlander is still out because of the injury last year. He got Tommy John, I think. That's the Houston Astros. They don't have Verlander. They almost lost Brantley. They lost George Springer. And here they are. Jake Odorizzi is their best pitcher now. That's basically
right now,
it.
Frankie and Framber Valdez are both injured right now.
How the mighty have fallen.
How the mighty have fallen upward. The Astros are still going to win the division. Rest easy, Astros fans. I know the cheating, and they're still going to face the hostile environments. They have not faced a crowd yet, so this is still something that's going to be on the radar. But let's get real. Like, this is still one of the best lineups in baseball. This is still 162 game worth of a beautiful lineup.
Like, they lost Springer, but Kyle Tucker had a really good season last year, so you have to assume he'll get more playing time. He'll probably move over to center. You still have Brantley. As long as you have Correa, Altuve, and Bregman, and Gurriel, you still have a potent lineup. Springer was just big for the postseason home runs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Springer, Kyle Tucker will be an adequate replacement. Absolutely. And they get so much value out of their infield that they don't need a huge performance out of center field. It looks like it's going to be Miles Straw out there, just lock down a speedster.
Well, that's the thing. When you have a lineup like they do, you can have just a defensive glove in center field.
That's okay. And the thing is, the young pitching that we saw last year between Christian Javier, Framber Valdez, and Jose Urquidy, if all those guys stay healthy with Odorizzi, with Greinke, with Lance McCullers Jr., even though I'm going to be honest, I don't know what to expect of Lance McCullers Jr.
It's a good lineup, and they're probably, if they're in contention, I could see them making a move, which they have done for the past 3-4 years at the deadline to get Verlander. Cole wasn't a deadline move, but they brought him in. They brought Greinke in. McCullers is coming back. They will make a move if they're in the running, which they will be.
They did lose Roberto Osuna.
He didn't offer much. He was good. So I could see them going for a back end arm.
They would need a back end arm. It kind of falls off, and that's really they would have probably beaten the Rays in the American League Championship Series. The Astros are getting a lot of disrespect for a team that has been to 4 consecutive ALCSs and a team that was 1 game away from coming back from down 3-0 and making it to the World Series. It kind of seems like a lot of people are out on them for the division, even though they really didn't. They lost Springer, but they still kept a majority of the core intact. I'm probably higher on the Astros than a lot of other people. I still think that your White Sox, your Yankees, and your Twins probably are better, but in this division, I think they win it.
I think I would love to know how they were able to steal Brantley away from the Blue Jays here, because it all happened so quickly, probably. But being able to keep him was huge. Losing Springer hurts. I mean, Miles Straw has 1 career home run and his 224 career at bats. So that the power that you're going to miss from Springer is going to hurt. I've been reading reports that they're going to be batting Altuve leadoff, I believe. But again, like you said, Justin, if you have that core 4, really, they're going to be in contention. They're the odds-on favorites to win it all, plus win the division, plus 130. I think I don't think they win the division. I still, in my heart, believe the Angels do. But I think the Astros could not surprise us all and just win the division.
It's such a common trend. I noticed it like by going through this podcast. None of these teams have a good rotation at all,
No,
or a
no.
bullpen.
I would put the Astros rotation at the top.
And that's saying something, considering they're mainly all rookies and old Zach Greinke.
They still have 4 guys who can win the MVP. I would say Bregman could win the MVP. Altuve has, and he could. Correa could, and Yordan Alvarez could. I mean, the guy is a monster bat. That's very easy to forget about. I mean, of course, cheaters. We don't like them. We're not going to root for them. Talent is talent.
Yeah. And with that talent, I think they finish with 93 wins.
I'm going 87. Going a little bit under 87.
Yeah, I'll give them 90, 91.
Okay.
And let's in the middle.
And let's talk about last year's division winner. And basically the only significant, not the only significant, but one of the teams actually can chase the Astros for the division, which they did last year. That's the Oakland Athletics. Their main 2 departures were Marcus Semien to Toronto, surprisingly, and Liam Hendricks to Chicago, the White Sox, and leaving a gaping hole at shortstop, which they filled with Elvis Andrus, which is just a defensive glove, nowhere near as offensively oriented as Marcus Semien was, and they don't really have a back-end closer either, with Liam Hendricks leaving. Can the Mets carry them to another division title? Joe, what do you think?
I don't think so. I mean, to lose your closer and to lose your shortstop and not have viable replacements. Elvis Andrus is solid. Trevor Rosenthal is solid, but these guys are not Marcus Semien, and they're not Liam Hendricks. Those are big blows, and this is a team that has been piecing it together. They have had a lot of success. I mean, we're talking about a couple 97, like very high 90s win seasons, but Bassett, Minaya, Mike Fiers, we're still doing this. Luzardo, Montes, it's all question marks for me. A lot of injury history up and down the rotation.
They still have Daniel Megden.
Oh, Stash.
The curved one.
Yeah.
Just hideous. Maybe we get Jesse to grow that one out.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah,
Listen,
their
they still have Matt
downfalls.
Chapman, though.
I think they move him.
Matt Chapman.
I think that they move him.
They still do have Matt Chapman. I don't know if they move him because he just is so valuable. And we're talking about the Astros, and you want to do the tell the tape. Who can realistically win MVP on this team? I think Chapman and Olsen could, but outside of that, there's not it falls off.
Oh no, I agree.
With the talent of this team, Laureano's a glove.
He has some power, but not consistently.
Anna has power, but
is Piscotty still there?
Yeah. League
Piscotty too hotty. Come on.
He's just a league average player.
Yeah.
They got Mitch Moreland. I don't know if that means anything to anybody. Not to me.
He's got World Series experience.
It doesn't. And I think kind of looking at it and going through it, I could see them just finishing with 90 wins and the Astros still coming away with the division just because they don't have the pitching. It's too young. Minaya is coming back. Luzardo, okay. Those are 2 good arms, but they have no bullpen. And that was their problem when they've made the playoffs is they've had no bullpen.
They'll tie. They'll tie with the Angels for second place. They'll be in the wild card hunt, but I'm not excited if I'm an A's fan.
Maybe Bob Melvin won his 4th AL manager of the year.
He's a good manager. I mean, he's doing something right.
Yeah. 86.5 current over-under.
So right around.
What are you taking? The under?
Going under. 84. 84.
Oof. That's painful.
Yeah, right there. I think this is the first year without Billy Beane in the front office, I believe.
Isn't he still in the front office, but a reduced role?
Let's look this up.
I'll look it up. I thought he was still with the team.
Who took over? Peter Brand?
Peter Brand. Economics, Yale, and baseball.
No, he's still a general manager. He's still there.
He's still the general. What was that story? What was that? Then there was a piece that came out that he was like.
Oh, he is the executive vice president of baseball operations and minority owner of the Oakland Athletics. Oh, so he's never going to fire himself.
Imagine.
Right. Great movie came out of the A's.
Good film.
He was a Met. Didn't know that. Forgot about that.
We're all
out of high school
that we can no longer play the kids game, Billy. Might be when we're 18. It might be when we're 40.
Only hit 3 career home runs.
Yeah, you would know if you watched the movie. You would know that his playing career was subpar.
No, I knew he sucked.
He was a
And
good Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Into David Justice.
Is that it? That it for the West?
No,
That's cool 5.
West. That's it for the West. That's
it for the West.
So Astros win. Angels and A's tie. Mariners are going to be young. Give them a year. The Rangers are such a non-factor that I don't know.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
open up 100% capacity for teams people want to see. Jeepers.
Well, with that wraps up this episode of the Sports Department Podcast. We're going to have a NFL free agency podcast later in the week as players start to sign, so that'll probably be out maybe around Wednesday or Thursday-ish. And then later in the week, we'll have wrestling as well as the NL West podcast preview. So make sure you follow all of our social media, subscribe, and yeah.